Is it okay to talk about it? I've waited a while. I tried to be original. I've seen a lot since the last iPhone 8 video. When was that? Like 6 days ago. Wow. I almost made it a week without making a topic about the iPhone 8. Well, almost a week. Wonder if I'll be able to make that happen again. If we break that record, maybe WWDC will help with that. We'll see. Leaks for the iPhone 8 are still running around the clock. Lots of people have been putting different schematics and putting them together, and we've kind of reached a final-ish sort of conclusion for the iPhone 8 because Apple's going into production this month, so it's not like big picture things can change too much before the release. There may be minor things, and hopefully fingerprint reader stays away from the back of the phone, but again, things of course can change, even well into production. But we do know now that the iPhone 8 might not head into mass production until later in the year because parts are so scarce, it's very hard to assemble, so if it is going to be available this year, it might not be. It's most definitely not going to be available in September. It's going to be October or November or maybe even December. It might be like AirPods. Apple promised that these puppies would be available like the month after they unveiled them, and then they weren't until like 3 months after they unveiled them. And they were kind of delayed indefinitely. We didn't have like a set in stone release date. They just kind of said coming soon, but not late October like you thought. Ticked off a bunch of people, and I think the iPhone 8 assembly process is very similar. They're requesting a lot. They're asking for things that can't be done in a too efficient manner, so quantities are going to be extremely limited at the end of the year. Though a comment kept popping up across my channel after everything Apple Pro, guy I tend to make fun of, but kind of respect at the same time. I'm not saying he's a bad YouTuber. I'm not here to bash or praise him. I'm just mentioning him. I get compared to him a lot, okay? And a lot of people were talking about maybe the reason that the button on the side of the iPhone 8 is larger is so that they could embed the Touch ID sensor into it. So they didn't figure out how to put it underneath the OLED display, and they don't want to put it on the back, but of course you still want Touch ID. So they made the power button bigger. They figured people rest their hand there a lot, and therefore that explains the larger button. I've had to think a lot about this. I am not sure about how I feel, and it's very likely we could be overthinking it. There's actually 4 different scenarios with Touch ID on the iPhone 8 that I can walk you through. There's number 1. It's the one we all want. Touch ID embedded into the display. That's revolutionary. It hasn't been done before. It would be great because it would serve the perfect on-screen home button we've ever had, because Apple's nailed the Taptic engine down to make it feel as real as a real button can feel. It'll be part of that function bar, so there will be other features alongside the home button on the bottom like never before, and a whole new array of features that we can't even imagine yet and probably won't know about until it's unveiled. Option 2 is where I'm going to place the Touch ID into the power button idea. It's neat, and it's not quite as bad as having it on the back because we do have to press that button to turn on the phone. It might make a little more sense given that when your phone is off and the home button is not seen, you will not have that option to press the home button to turn on your phone like you do now. Or maybe you do. Maybe that's why they switched to OLED. Like they'll have an always on screen for the home button, so maybe you can press it. But if you choose to have your display always off, and I haven't seen Apple interested in the knock knock feature that Android has, the on and off button is your one option. There of course are a few problems I have with it though. Everything Apple Pro mentioned that we have phones right now with Touch ID in the power button, but the ones he referenced were typically flat buttons, and I don't think they were as thin. I could be wrong about that, but it's not exactly the same scenario. See, with Apple, their buttons are curved a little bit. They're rounded off so they fit nice in your hand. And see, the next issue is they're in this curved body, and to be embedded in them, they are significantly thinner than the side of the phone itself. As in, the amount of data they're collecting from your fingerprint is going to be a very thin, narrow strip. If you can make Touch ID be the same or better, which I don't know if you can, than the already existing fingerprint reader, then that's great. And obviously, if you couldn't figure out how to put it into the OLED display, then I understand why you did it that way. That kind of makes sense. That's a logical approach. But I'm just worried about the fact that it'll be collecting significantly less data than before. Given we used to have a very even, rounded circle at the bottom, now we would be transferring to a very narrow strip of our fingerprint, which, first of all, it's going to be hard to add your fingerprint into the phone, because typically with the point of your finger, that's what you would press the home button with, and that's why when you're adding your fingerprint into your phone, you kind of move it around the edges and stuff. That way, if there's a little bit of variation in the way you're touching your home button, it can still collect that. It has a very wide, vast array of your fingerprint that it can read from multiple different angles. See, with the power button, when it's getting so little data, adding your fingerprint might be very tricky because you'll have to adjust your thumb in lots and lots of different ways on your phone. And lots of people, depending on how you're holding your phone, will press the button with a different finger, different angles, and see, with at least the home button, that's a circle, so it's easier for it to understand the fingerprints coming from different directions, whereas the fingerprint on the power button is such a narrow strip. To try to get the phone to understand your fingerprint from all these different angles when it's looking at such little parts of your finger. I don't know. I start to wonder if that's even easier, given it's a button and people are used to adding their fingerprint reader here. So if whenever you turned on your iPhone, you now have the arrow pointing up to the power button, people go up there and they would press that, and then they would just turn their phone off because they don't understand the difference between resting your finger on the button and clicking the button. Whereas, you know, when you press the home button on a regular iPhone fingerprint reader, it unlocks the phone, which is what you ultimately want. There's a lot of problems with the button on the side, okay? I'm not saying that's the perfect scenario, but I can say that would be my number 2 option if you couldn't get it under the display. But I definitely would not prefer that. Option number 3, obviously, is having the fingerprint reader on the back, which honestly, I know we all hate that and we think it looks ugly. I agree with you. A lot of people want it built into the Apple logo, but I don't think Apple would go for that because they want their logo to be basic and shiny, and the fingerprint reader would be fairly uneven with the leaf and the curves on that. I think that's just their signature. They don't want that to be functional. I don't make the rules. I wish it was functional. I wish you could embed the cameras in the Apple logo just for a cleaner back, but no, they've never really done that kind of thing before. The logo is just kind of writing cherry on top, apple on top, I should say. It's not really something they look at as an advantage to making something look cleaner. But after using the Galaxy S8 for a long time, fingerprint reader on the back wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, given that the front of the phone is going to be completely edge to edge with very minimal bezels, so I can understand why they can't put it on the front. Similar to the S8, they took advantage of the front, so they moved it to the back. That was the best thing they could do. If Apple has to resort to that, I'll be upset. Phone won't be that great, but I don't think it'll be a deal breaker. I think everyone would still buy it. In the 4th option, that is the worst possible case, that even was rumored a couple times, they could remove Touch ID altogether. This is the worst case scenario. We should not be hating Touch ID on the back as much as that potential leak that is technically still possible given these new rumors. Because we've leaked schematics, but we haven't seen a blueprint that says the fingerprint reader is here, or it's on the on and off button. Like, we don't have that. All we're seeing is that there's no hole in the back of the iPhone. If they decided to just do away with Touch ID altogether, that goes against everything they set up with this. It's the easiest way to unlock your phone. It's genius. When they introduced it on the 5S, they have it on the iPads, the MacBook. It makes so much sense, and yet I hate that we won't officially know if that's true until it comes out. I would really hate if they backpedaled like that. That would just destroy everything. To just resort to the iris scanner, which honestly, that's not going to be as good. Or 3D face mapping thing better be a wide angle camera so that like your phone can be sitting on your desk, and when you walk up to it, it can auto detect your face so quickly that it just unlocks. It has to be pretty revolutionary to replace Touch ID, which I don't think it will. I think the iris scanner will be more like what the S8 has, which is very narrow viewed and has to work only very specific conditions, like not in the sunlight, and it doesn't work for toddlers, and your eyes have to be open all the way, and you have to be looking directly at your phone. I would not like that replacement. I just hope that because of the fact that they're having to delay it so much, and since mass production won't start till way later in the year, that means they have figured out how to put the fingerprint reader into the display. Go with plan A on this one, option 1. They've figured that out, and they're just saying, no, we are assuring quality. We don't care about how many we sell, we just want it to be a good iPhone. I really hope that's the case. That does sound like true, genuine Apple, not caring about the quantity and just focusing on how good of a phone it is. And that's why these are all delayed, and that's why we're gonna have to wait for it so much. That's what I'm hoping, but I've heard reports that it's the processor or components on the inside of the device that are causing it to take so long. The new OLED display, different rearrangement of the items inside of it, and apparently that's the reason, which doesn't make me excited at all. But I suppose we might know where the Touch ID button is if someone is able to steal one from Foxconn and shows it operational and in use. That would be quite the leaked video, and since the iPhone 8 news and rumors are so high in demand right now, perhaps that would be possible. Someone would put their job on the line. We could have Mac rumors go over to China and be like, hey, you'll get fired, but we'll pay you $20,000 to go steal an iPhone 8 and bring it out. And that person would do it. I definitely would. Just out of care, I would do it for free. I just am curious to see where the Touch ID button is. Then they would let it know to the world. Apple is, though, really cracking down on iPhone 8 rumors because Tim Cook reportedly said knowledge about the next generation iPhone is actually hurting the iPhone 7 sales of this year. As in, not a lot of people are buying the iPhone 7 right now because they're hearing how great the iPhone 8 will be. Again, Apple's upset about that, but it makes perfect sense to me that people don't want to get ripped off. They don't want to pay top dollar for a phone that's coming up on a year old when a new one for a similar price is going to be way better. They're just being smart about their financial decisions. I don't think Apple should be shocked by that, and I don't think it would change people's minds if there were less leaks. The iPhone 8 really hasn't had a crazy ton of leaks. It's definitely the most hyped of all time, but remember back in the day when the iPhone 4, like a prototype of it, was left in a German bar somewhere? Then Gizmodo found it and filmed a video of it, and they had a prototype, and then Steve Steve Jobs wrote him a letter. Like, that's a real leak. What we're seeing right now is a mixture of concept art, schematics, fake news, and plain old just people being creative with what they want their iPhone to look like. There's so many different designs still going out there, even though they have no evidence to back it up. So I wouldn't say the schematics we have for the iPhone 8 right now are still set in stone, and this is exactly what it could be. It could definitely change. Even if it's gone into production, I think it could change. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on the Touch ID button. Where is it going to be? Under the display, on the back, on the power button, or not at all? And of course, if you find new information, you want to let me know about it, check me out on Twitter. I'm pretty active on there. I may not always reply, but I do always read my @tweets. So you know how to find me. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.